Hey you guys, Mother's Day is May 14th, and you don't want to forget Mom on her special day. Neither does Bouquet in a Box. Who's Bouquet in a Box? It's our newest freaking sponsor. Bouquet in a Box is a new online flower bouquet business, and they want to give our listeners a special deal in honor of all those special moms in our lives. Be a good husband, be a good son, be a good nephew. Buy your mom something nice. For 4 generations and over 50 years, Bouquet in a Box has been growing flowers right here in California. And if you head over to bouquetinabox.com right now and use our promo code INFAMOUS, you guys get 15% off your first order. Don't forget those special women in your life on Mother's Day and save 15% by using promo code INFAMOUS.
They see me mowing my front lawn. I know they're all thinking I'm so white and nerdy. Think I'm just too white and nerdy. Think I'm just too white and nerdy. Can't you see I'm white and nerdy?
Hello again, and welcome to another episode of the Taco Truck of Destiny. We are the newest members of the infamous podcast universe, and we want to thank you so much for joining us again this week. We attempt to be your source for all things nerd related, from superheroes and comic books to action figures, trading cards, sci-fi and fantasy movies, and everything else nerd-related. If it appeals to geeks, dorks, nerds, or even spazzes, we're going to do our best to discuss it. So, I want to turn it on over to my esteemed colleague, Wade, to introduce who we have got on the mics tonight.
He called me esteemed. All right, so everyone over here, you remember Mish. Mish, go ahead and say hi.
Hi, everybody.
And we just had to have her back on because we have probably one of the coolest guests we could ever have. Just to start things off, if you're listening to this and you ever watched the X-Men animated series, you can thank this man for it. And I'm talking about in 92 when cartoons were still cool. And it pretty much set the tone for all the X-Men comics, toys, and movies. So I want to go ahead and introduce you to Larry Houston.
Yay!
Hi, Larry.
Hi everyone. How you doing?
Good.
We're great. Very, very excited to have you here with us today, sir. You're definitely a legend in the animation industry.
I'm glad to be invited, and I'm glad to meet people who appreciated what we did back then.
I'd say appreciation is an understatement for the feeling of love in this room right now. We are all huge fans of the X-Men animated TV series, which you were a very big creative force behind. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was the producer-director of the series. It lasted about 5 years. I was there for the first 4. It's a series that we tried to get off the ground about 5 years earlier because we had done a pilot called Pride of the X-Men, and we tried to sell Fox TV on it, and it didn't sell. But our boss, her name was Margaret Lesh, 5 years later, she became boss of Fox Kids. And so she brought the crew along with us, which is us, myself, Will Mineo, Rick Holberg, and we set forth to try and do the X-Men again. And this time it worked.
Why do you think it didn't work the first time? Why did they not pick it up? I mean, we've all seen it, and it was such a cool cartoon. Great characters. The whole look of it was amazing. The total 80s feel of the X-Men. It was awesome. Why do you think it didn't fly then?
There seems to be a lot of politics at the time because I think we tried to sell it to Fox and they didn't want to nibble. They couldn't get the financing from back east, New York, to get it off the ground. It was a whole bunch of stuff like that, and so it kind of went away.
And this was in 1989, correct?
Yes.
So really, the superhero genre that we know it as today was just not there yet, right? Would you say it was just...
Yeah.
Definitely not with the popularity. I think, sorry, I'm going to chime in, but in the 90s is when they launched just in this craze with superheroes. I was addicted to that. Batman, the animated series, Spiderman, Superman, all that stuff came out, and it went wild.
Transformers.
Well, Transformers started in the 80s.
Did it?
Yeah, definitely.
I'm way off.
And, yeah.
That was kind of like the first wave, because when I got into business, it was what set the animation industry forward was actually the creation of He-Man. He-Man opened up the syndication market.
Absolutely.
If He-Man hadn't broken through and created that market, G.I. Joe and all the rest of them would have never existed.
Well, I guess we have He-Man to thank for that. He-Man has helped shape a lot of childhoods of people of my age. Well, maybe you're a good person to ask this because I've pretty much been wondering this most of my entire life. Fan of He-Man, I will say that in advance, but what the do you
Okay, that's fine.
what the fuck was with the costume? That He-Man had a worse disguise than Superman. And from Prince Adam to He-Man, the only change is a tan.
Yes, I know.
He gets a nice bodybuilder tan, and nobody can recognize him. What's up with that?
I know that was all the design from the toy company. The toy company had a mold and they had a character, and they didn't want to do a second mold for like Clark Kent Superman, so they just
Really?
Yeah, they just recolored them, and they didn't want it to save money.
Oh my god, my mind is blown right now. I mean, it's kind of that's kind of obvious. It lies somewhere between no shit and no duh, but it's just like, wow, I would have never really thought about that, but yeah, it's obvious. So I had Masters of the Universe toys,
Yeah,
and yeah, the Prince Adam was nearly exactly the same as He-Man. In fact, all of the bodies
yep,
were exactly the same, just different color.
different colors. Yeah,
Wow, everyone had exactly the same musculature and everything.
Change out
Yeah.
some of the arms, legs, and maybe a head here. And
Yeah. Or multiple heads for the guy whose head would spin around.
Oh
And-
yeah,
Triclops.
I'm so glad I work with nerds. I'm so glad somebody knew that name. That's awesome.
If you remember the comic books, they came with in the back of the toys.
Yes.
Yeah, I drew about 10 of those.
That's awesome.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
How'd you get your
Yeah.
start?
I got my start at a company that it doesn't exist anymore, but it was called Filmation Studios, and that's where I got my first job as a storyboard artist. Prior to that, I was actually in the computer field. I was a systems analyst at McDonnell Douglas, and I was fixing computers,
Wow.
going cross country, and and when I first got into business, it was fine, but I was getting bored near the end of it, so I decided to change careers, and I had friends that worked at Disney and worked at Hanna-Barbera, and they told me back then the animation to get hired was cyclical because everybody got laid off somewhere in about September, October, and everybody got rehired in February. So I kind of timed myself to go in for an interview and get hired at the right time.
Nice. So what was your first animated series that you worked on?
It was at Filmation. It was a series called Sport Billy. And it was a show that was being done for the German market, for European market. It wasn't even shown here, but they had so many episodes. And so that's how I think I got in there, because they needed bodies to draw this stuff with. And so I got a chance to get in there with Sport Billy. But after that, I worked on, Tarzan, Flash Gordon, and...
the Tarzan, the Saturday morning cartoon Tarzan?
yeah, and
That's so cool.
I loved that cartoon.
Lone Ranger.
Oh, wow.
So I worked on those 3 series
Nice.
As a storyboard artist?
as a storyboard artist, yeah.
That's so cool.
I love those as a little kid. I was into all those cartoons. Those were Saturday morning ones on back when Saturday morning cartoons existed.
Yes.
Well,
That's so cool.
I don't know how it was back then with storyboarding, because I know how it is right now, because I go to school for visual effects and animation. Storyboarding is one of the classes we took, but it's pretty much was it all about speed, trying to get these things, these storyboards out?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we had a schedule of trying, if I remember right, I think it was like they gave us they would break the show down into like maybe 4 sections, sometimes just 3, and assign they would assign an artist per section, and we had to crank through it in maybe a week or about 2 weeks to 3 weeks if we're lucky, and that was, I mean, it was a grind.
Wow.
And Filmation, in order to save money, they used a system called a stock system. And so there were like shots of the characters that had, when they pick up a car or when they walk, dialogue shots, that they created these books, stock books. And so we had to, it was almost like a puzzle. Like if we had, Tarzan talking, camera left, looking at camera right, we had to go look for it and put the notations on the storyboards, so that when it went to the animators, they could find it somewhere in the filing system, and they could just drop it in. They didn't have to reanimate that same scene again.
Right. Save time and money.
Yeah. The one good thing about Filmation is that Lou Scheimer, who was the owner of it, was real big on keeping the animation work in the States, and so in order to do that, he had to work create a stock system of reusing animation in order to keep everybody employed, because if all the animation was new, we'd fall behind in production, and the cost would go way up.
He wanted to keep it out of Korea.
Yes.
He was like the Trump of his day.
Yes.
We're going to keep all the jobs here.
Yeah. But believe me, he was nothing like Trump. He was like...
He was a nice guy then.
He was an excellent guy. He was
he was a good guy. So he was nothing like Trump. Okay.
Opposite of Trump. He was like one of the few guys. He was already rich. He had no reason to even open an animation studio, but he loved the medium and he loved working with artists and writers. And so he was like...
It was his passion.
Yeah. And he's like one of the few owners of an animation studio that really liked coming into work and creating animated shows.
Wow.
He was really good. I mean, he passed away, I think, about 4 years ago, but he was loved by everybody who worked there.
So speaking of other Saturday morning cartoons, you and I were speaking just before the show. You mentioned a show that you worked on. I think you said uncredited. That kind of made my spider sense tingle. made my nerdness happy.
Yeah.
Wade and I have talked about how cool this show is. Spiderman and His Amazing Friends.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez, that was the greatest. That was one of, I think, a lot of people of around a certain age. That was kind of their first introduction, other than comic books, to Spider-Man.
Yeah. We got a shot to get it on the air. And they swapped out Human Torch. They wanted a female lead, and so they created a brand new character.
She was created for the show, Firestar.
Yeah, and her original, they didn't have a name for her. The guy, I'm blanking on his name now. The story editor, he was trying to come up with a name for the character, and he kept coming up with names that already existed. He kept, let's call her Starfire. I'm like, nope, that's in the Teen Titans. Let's call her Inferno. Nope, that's a Flash villain. I'm sorry, he said Heatwave. Nope, that's a Flash villain. He kept flipping through all these names all the time.
There's only so many names you could use that have the heat or fire in it.
Yeah.
Huh?
And then one time he came back, he asked me, okay, what about Starfire? I'm going, nope. Then he flipped it. What about Firestar? Nope, nobody has that. Done. That's it. He walked away.
Roll it.
Dennis Marks, that's his name. Dennis Marks.
That's a good name, though, Firestar.
Yeah.
That's exactly who she is and what she does right there in her name.
Yeah.
And that was actually a pretty... I enjoyed her more than I liked Iceman or Spider-Man in that. It was just... Firestar was just cool at the time. He's got this flaming... This like red star on her face. Yeah. And she would just melt everything. I thought it was great. Yeah.
Why did they not use the Human Torch?
I think at the time, the Human Torch was under... they couldn't use him because he was under contract with some live-action film or something like that. And two, they also wanted a female included into the group. But at the time, at Marvel at that time, they didn't have any characters with fire powers.
Right.
And so they just created her.
So they wanted they wanted the firepower to be like a opposite dichotomy of Iceman. Was that specifically to be in contrast to Iceman, or?
It's more just to replace the Torch.
Oh, okay.
But the one thing they wanted her not to do was to turn on fire. So that's why she has this heat aura.
Oh, yeah.
When she flies.
Yeah, because Human Torch looks like a flying fire shaped like a dude.
Right.
Oh, wow, that's cool. That's cool. That was a great cartoon.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. And in the beginning, when they were trying to sell the show, trying to get the first premises through the show, and they kept getting their premises for the first episode turned away. The networks didn't like it. So I sat down one day, I said, okay, let me give myself a shot. So I wrote down a premise and an outline I knew about a character that I think John Byrne had created called Swarm. And so I took that character and threw him into the Spider-Man universe and created a storyline of creating this creature that comes from a meteor from outer space. Mm. And one of the key things was he was trying to change everybody into drones, but Spider-Man would be immune because he's got the radioactive blood. And that would be the key for him to be able to defeat the villain. And so that one got sent. That was the first one ever. That was the first one they approved.
Wow.
And then on the second one, I think, was Green Goblin.
Oh.
But Dennis Marks at the time thought, since I was a young kid and I didn't have a lot of experience, that he paid me for everything, and he got credit for it. But I actually wrote it because when I saw the finished script. I'm going, wait, everything's there.
That looks familiar.
That's what I wrote.
I feel like when I watch the show, I feel like I know what's going to happen next. It's so weird.
I'll be damned. Look at this.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't worry too much about it because you definitely got, your name on quite a few amazing things.
I think I was I feel really lucky because I was in the right place at the right time to work on a lot of shows. I got the chance to work with my, Stan Lee and off and on with Jack Kirby and stuff. And it was like,
there we go.
So we really got to know. Wait, so when you say work with, do you mean work with like as I'm sitting across from you work with, or do you mean like over a fax machine?
No, I was in the room with him when he would. There was another show I worked on called Thundar. I was doing storyboards on Thundar over at Ruby Spears.
That sounds familiar.
And Jack Kirby and Gil Kane were doing development work for them, creating the villains and the backgrounds and stuff. And so I would be there. I'd be lucky enough to be there when they drop off the work, and you could talk to them and stuff like that.
Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
The Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
He's geeking out.
Yeah. Wait.
For the audience out there.
Yeah, wait, you need to talk. I gotta.
Well, I'm gonna
process this for a second.
I'm gonna let him process, and I'm gonna go into the X-Men animated series.
Please do. Thank you.
When I first saw the commercials for it, that they were gonna start this show, this X-Men show. I didn't know too much about X-Men other than what I had seen in prior to the X-Men. So I was like, oh, this is kind of a new thing. Of course, being a kid, I saw the powers. And just the cool costumes, and I'm like immediately, I'm gonna watch this. I don't care what I'm doing. It's Saturday morning. If I gotta wake up balls early, so be it. I'm gonna watch this.
I'll tell you. Let me interject real quick.
I'm gonna go on this real quick,
okay.
And it brought out my favorite character still, just because for his sheer personality, and it was created. And I believe you were the one who told me this. Morph was created just for that show.
Did you just say your favorite character is Morph?
Yes.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
Because he's an ass. He is the greatest. He is such a wife.
You just mean of that cartoon. You don't mean of like all X-Men canon, do you?
No. I'm talking about that cartoon. It was Morphin. And
really?
We go into it was the second episode. Was it the second episode?
Where he dies?
Because it was a 2-part intro.
He dies in the second.
It was the second one.
Yeah.
And I
or
remember
quote
that
unquote air quotes dies.
Yes.
I started, the laugh did it for me.
Yeah. That,
Morph, I was like, wow, this guy's kind of a jerk.
He's
I like him.
Okay. It's funny. So you seem to really go, you gravitate towards irreverent and characters that are kind of
Deadpool's
a-holes.
like my go-to.
Yeah.
The Wade Wilson, let's be honest, great stuff.
Yeah. So I have a cool bit of trivia for you. Maybe you know this. Larry might not remember because it's probably only relevant to me. The day that show debuted.
X-Men the Animated Series?
Yes.
Wasn't it on Thanksgiving?
It was on Halloween.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
it was
awesome.
on Halloween, yeah.
It's my favorite holiday. So I remember the day. No matter what, it was not on at night. Thank God.
Right.
We would all missed it.
Yeah, it was all my sugar rush at that point.
Yeah, but it was on.
Was that a Saturday?
I believe it was.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, but
what a great time to do.
It wasn't planned. It was all serendipity. Everything. The reason it all came together because it's back then. Every new show debuted in September.
September, yeah.
That's when everybody started.
When we all go back to school, the new cartoons start.
Yes.
It's game on. Yeah.
Yeah. But this time around, the overseas studio on other shows I've had this problem, and they were notorious for doing this, in that they would give you poor quality, and they would just say, "Well, you got to make your air dates, so we can't do all the retakes or correct the shows, and you'd have to try and do something in post production to try and fix the shows because you didn't get all the scenes you wanted to get corrected." And they pulled the same trick on X-Men. But this time, because Margaret Lesh was now in charge of Fox, she said, no, you're not going to do that. You're going to do all the changes we require, even if it means pushing the air date back. And so it got pushed back further and further because of Margaret Lesh. She wouldn't let them get away with it. And so they had to show something because they had obligations to their advertisers that this was going to happen. So that's why you got the one in October.
Yeah.
I think you got a little bit in November or December. There was like something else.
It wasn't on every week. It was a tease. I remember
Right.
I was chomping at the bit, and it felt like years in between the next show. I mean, I'm a little older than these guys, so the first episode, the very first episode aired on that Halloween, I was 17.
Right.
So I was, already in junior or senior in high school, but I died an old nerd. So like I couldn't believe it. But then by the time it came out again, I was already 18.
Right.
I think at the point I'd stopped reading comic books because I think I told Wade the story. I got a girlfriend. So it was either spend your money on comic books or spend your money on your woman. Comic books lost out for a while, but I still had X-Men animated series. I didn't have to pay for that. So I could get some sexy time and get some superhero time. That's the best of both worlds.
Yeah. And because of Margaret Loesch, when we finally got the episodes coming in sequence, everything hit in January. It's when we started showing the shows in sequence, and we didn't know this at the time. I mean, looking back, we realized what we did. When the show came out, all the other shows had run 13 weeks, and all of the shows were in reruns. Oh, yeah. We were the only new show. And so all the kids gravitated to the X-Men and got a chance. Our 13 run was seen by all the kids who might normally have been looking at other shows at the time. So we got the benefit
of competition.
There was no competition.
Oh, wow.
As a glorified consumer that I was at that point, I'm telling you, like, X-Men took the show. Like, that was the show to watch.
Yeah.
People were starting to watch that had never even heard of the X-Men before because they started seeing these characters. And the show didn't look like it was pieced together overnight, which is like, unfortunately, I've seen a lot of cartoons go that way just to go on and like focus on a fad. But this one, it had a really good story to it. The characters are believable. And it was fun. It was something that you enjoyed watching. You didn't waste 30 minutes of your life sitting down and going over. And even to this day, and I'm going to go into this little story that I have. I was over in northern Japan. We were there for 2 weeks. Back when I was still in the Marine Corps.
Northern Japan?
Northern Japan. We were training with the Japanese Army.
Hokkaido Prefecture?
Wow.
Yep. And my friend, he comes up and we're talking. I was like, we're so bored. We've gone through, all of the movies that we could share, all of the external hard drives loaded up with movies. He comes up and he's like, hey, I got all the X-Men TV shows. Did you mean the cartoon? Yeah, I got all of them. Plug that in.
Yeah.
And I remember we sat on these little bunk beds in the middle of this freezing hut. The only thing heating it was a pipe that came down from the ceiling, and it was a gas pipe. And it just had this little open door that you opened just so it could start heating it up. We all huddled around there.
Jesus.
And we were watching it from start to finish.
On rattan mats?
Yeah. They were like, my back felt like I could feel the wiring.
A real Japanese experience, huh?
Yeah, that was so much fun watching it. Even going into the point where Juggernaut got tossed by Gladiator after that scene with Black Tom, and I'm just sitting there.
Cassidy,
It was one of the most. X-Men the animated series probably had more memorable moments in my life than a lot of other cartoon shows.
I thought you were going to say more memorable moments than your actual life, but that would be me.
Wow, you had all of those.
Larry, I got a question. I got to ask
just
you.
Watched them on Netflix when they came out. I got so excited.
They're not on Netflix anymore. God
I
damn
know. Why did they take them down? That was so disappointing. I'm so glad I got to watch all of them before they took it down. But as soon as it came on, I was like, "Oh my god, it's on!" And I watched it for days. I didn't leave the house. I just sat there and watched X-Men. My roommate's like, "Is there something you should be telling me? Are you okay?" I was like,
"Just got some cup of noodles."
I was like, "You have no idea. You have to sit down and watch this with me."
I got the cup of noodles and a Mountain Dew, and we're set. Let's do this.
Red Bull, bring the Red Bull.
Yeah. Wow.
Don't bother me. I'm watching X-Men. Yeah. Hey, Larry, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Can you tell us what went into the decision to make the team the characters that it was? I know it was kind of based on the blue team, Cyclops' blue team. Pretty sort of, but what was the decision for the characters? Because, at that time, there was literally, in the books, there was twice as many X-Men as there were on the show. So I'd really like to know the decisions behind that those characters, that team?
It was a compromise between the story editor, who's going to write the episodes, and Marvel East. They came up, we had a cast of characters, and they had their picks from who they wanted to see in the show. And the story editor needed to balance out, a equal number of men and women.
Okay.
And also try and get characters that didn't duplicate the same abilities. Like Cyclops and Rogue are both strong.
Sure.
So you had to, pick different characters. And Marvel at the time had this obscure character nobody knew about called Gambit, and they wanted to try and push Gambit into the show. And because we had already done Kitty Pryde, they wanted to push. They said, okay, let's have the Asian girl, Jubilee put into the show. And so we had a little balance of different ethnic groups, and also for male-female balance in the show.
So male-female balance, ethnicity, and not duplicating powers.
Yes.
So Gambit wasn't that well known at that point. I mean, I'm trying to think from a I got to put my mindset into somebody who wasn't like, by the time the show came out, I was already a diehard X-Men fan for about 12 years. Like as soon as you hit your teens, so I was about 12 when I discovered the X-Men.
Sort of like a rite of passage.
No, it really is, because there's a lot of great comic books that appeal to all kinds of children. Spiderman was my first, and he's one of my first comic book loves. But the X-Men becomes really more relevant when you start to get in your preteens and teenage years. It becomes a lot cooler. So
you can relate to them.
You can. There's more. There's more angst. There's more sex. There's more things that appeals to teenagers. And just from the time I was about 12. So for about 5 years before the series, I couldn't read X-Men enough. Classic X-Men, Uncanny, Wolverine, Solo. So I was a huge fan. And I feel like I knew who every character was. But Gambit, you say, was not very well known. No. He was fairly new.
He was fairly new, and nobody knew much about him. And we got a little bio on it, and so we did some casting and try and get him this Cajun accent and.
That actor, I'm sorry.
It was great. Damn, it was so great.
Fucking, what's his name? Tyler
Hirsch.
Tyler Hirsch should have watched that show from start to finish to learn how to talk like it. Or maybe the director didn't want to do it. But I'm sorry, the voice actor that played Gambit.
Yeah.
When I read a comic book with Gambit in it, that's the voice I hear in my head. That guy nailed that shit.
Yes, he did. Yes,
he was great. Do you know who that was, or was he living in Canada, or what?
He was up in Canada. Everything was recorded in Toronto.
Yeah.
And if I can remember, there's you know who the voice actor is, right?
For Gambit?
For Gambit, yeah.
No, who?
Let's see. Do you remember the original Kung Fu show? There was like a second Kung Fu show where it was his son.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's the voice of Gambit, the guy who played the son in the second run of Kung Fu. That's that actor.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not in my head. I can't remember his name.
Wasn't it called Kung Fu: The Legend Continues?
Yes, that's it.
That's
exactly.
it.
I love doing a show with nerds.
And that's the voice of Gambit.
Wow, really?
Yep.
Pretty talented guy. I would have thought he was born on the bayou. That's cool. So the show goes on for about 5 years, right?
Yeah.
But you're on it for the first 4.
Yes.
How did they decide? Because there was a lot of also side characters. Like it was if you look at a list of the characters that made appearances on, it's pretty much an incredible who's who of X-Men villains and also teammates. So
right.
How do they decide what characters to put on as far as villains and other? Because I remember like Iceman made an appearance and quite a few other teammates that made Colossus.
Yeah.
Okay, how come Colossus wasn't
For one thing, he was the same abilities as Rogue, and the story data was telling us with the writers you have to deal with. I mean, you can only showcase so many characters in 22 minutes, and so they had to pare it down to a workable group of characters that they could write a story around. And that's unfortunately he was like one of the ones. Him and Beast almost didn't make it and got cut out of the show. And the only way we could keep him in the show was he got arrested and got put into jail. And so we kept that as a Beast storyline throughout the series until he got freed.
All right.
And that's how come we kept him around, but he wasn't there in the day-to-day dramas that were written in the episodes.
Rogue is just the best. She's got to stay in.
She's a huge fan of Rogue. As she should be. Everybody should be.
I love that storyline when they explained how she got her superpowers. Like, again, nothing new. when she held on too long to Ms. Marvel.
Well, that was taken from the books.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is kind of intense.
Well, she started as a villain in the books. Was she?
She started because she was originally appeared in I think it was a Avengers Annual. Because they had it was Mystique kind of clouding her mind,
brainwashing her, Svengali
she was there
type.
with the Brotherhood of Mutants.
She dated Magneto for a little while, right?
Rogue?
Wait.
Yeah, she did way after the.
Way after.
Yeah.
Wow, talk about a May-December romance.
Yes.
I'm sitting there watching this episode. Yeah. She's absorbing Ms. Marvel. I'm like, what is going on?
And it wasn't pleasant. It was pretty violent.
It was.
Yeah.
Just get everything taken from you, and she never got it back.
Yeah.
She permanently kept it. She held on so long.
Well, she looked better. I mean, Miss Marvel was never really... Rogue has always been, I think, more of a fan favorite in every incarnation, books or what. Miss Marvel's kind of cool enough, but I mean, how many Miss Marvel movies have we gotten so far?
Well, we're not going to have a Ms. Marvel. We're going to have a Captain Marvel, which I don't know much about Ms. Marvel, but
there's a lot of characters with it.
Carol Danvers.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters named Marvel, and it gets a little confusing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I got a chance to at least use the Ms. Marvel with the lightning bolt and
that's right,
that costume, and it was like that was pretty. Everybody was psyched to do that. I mean, the team I had working with me on the X-Men. We were all X-Men fans. We were all Marvel fans. We were all Marvel nerds.
So you were a fan. Yeah. You were a fan before you got the job.
Yeah. I grew up with Marvel in my head.
So what kind of a buzz was that to work for the show if you'd already been a comic book or superhero fan?
Oh, it was like I was in heaven.
Holy shit, that's awesome.
But being in heaven actually started way back when I got Spiderman's Amazing Friend because I was working on those shows. I got to talk to Stan every day. And so we got a chance to. That was like I was in heaven for like the 20 years working at the Marvel Productions. And
what's Stanley like? Come on, I gotta know.
Stan is. There's a reason why Stan writes the when you're talking about Stan's personality, because when he would come into work, he was either one of three people.
Okay.
When you come to work, if he was Peter Parker, he'd be a very nice guy talking to you, and he'd be in a great, excellent mood.
Okay.
Then there are days he'd come in as J. Jonah Jameson. He's really pissed off and upset, and you just avoid him.
Whoa.
And then there are days he comes to work as Spider-Man, and he'd be literally sometimes trying to explain us how Spider-Man was doing. He got this old guy jumping on tables and putting his fingers that Spider-Man does this and this. I mean, it's like he was like over the top. Me. So he was always one of three characters coming to work every day. And so it was a lot of fun. But, once you recognize J. Jonah Jameson, you just stayed away.
Right.
The other two are cool.
As a straight-up nerd, I would love to get yelled at by Stanley.
I would tell my grandchildren's grandchildren. And after I'm dead, I'd make sure that my descendants told that story. Oh, man. Can you imagine him just jumping up on a table? He comes to work one day and he's smoking a cigar and he's like chewing out the side of his mouth and to avoid him.
Yeah. Yes. And he had it. And the building we had was like a big square, but the middle was an open atrium. And so sometimes Stan would be there. He'd get a chair and he'd get this mirror thing to try and get a tan on his face. And he'd be out in the middle of the atrium. And we're going, I'm thinking to myself, that's skin cancer. What are you doing? But, whatever.
Then how old is he? He's 92?
92? Something like that, yeah.
Hey, wow. If it's skin cancer, he's definitely beat it.
Not only is he 92, he's like, I feel like he has more energy and vitality than I do at 42. The guy's 50 years older than me. I think he'd probably kick my ass.
He's really he's in good health.
Good, because he can never die. I really hope he outlives me. I don't want to be around for his passing.
I don't want to live in a world without Stanley.
No, I don't. I'll have to wear a black band around my left arm for a month. Absolutely. So, there's another little show that you were a big part of, and I'm going to kind of ask you about that right now. We haven't gone through that on the show. I've been kind of saving it because it's like a little surprise, a little happy moment for me. So when I was a kid, if I was in, I think specifically like 4th grade, if my grades weren't all that hot,
right,
I was allowed to watch 1 hour of cartoon, 1 hour show after school.
Right.
Got to do your homework. You're only allowed to watch 1 hour of cartoons. Make it count. Right. What's it going to be? Without even hesitating, the choice was very, very simple. The first show,
right,
a little known show named Transformers.
Okay.
And I do mean Generation 1. The second show,
G.I. Joe.
Abso-fucking-lutely. And this man was a producer on one of my all-time favorite shows, series.
Wet Dreams.
No, what's the word? Not just show. I mean, the G.I. Joe is more to me than just a cartoon. It's a
Culture.
It's a culture. It's
Your lifestyle.
It's a way of life. It's a culture. It's something I've been into from the moment I picked up my first Cobra Trooper action figure. I was a big action figure fan. I'm called Action Figure Junkie for a reason. I picked up my first Cobra Trooper in 1982.
Okay.
And
That's
every action figure that came before that, be it Star Wars, mostly Star Wars, I was over instantly because of the points of articulation and the realisticness. Mm-hmm. And it was all G.I. Joe for the rest of my life, pretty much. And I even brought in a few modern figures to show Larry.
That's an excellent model. Excellent figures here.
Yeah, those are. I have an Instagram account where I pose these guys and I take pictures of them.
Yeah,
I fucking love it. It's like it's such a fun hobby. I just hit 1,900 followers, Wade, yesterday.
Wow,
1,900, bro.
This pleases me.
I hope so. So, I want to play a little something for you because not only did you produce the show, but they made a movie.
Yes, they did. The G.I. Joe movie.
And there's an opening sequence.
Yeah.
It's about 3 minutes long.
Yeah.
And it may be one of the most awesome animated sequence I've ever seen. Somehow managed to fit every awesome G.I. Joe figure for at least a couple seconds.
Yeah.
In every great figure I remember is in that fighting Cobra. And I want to play. I have a little something for you. I want to see if you can hear this. Hopefully, it'll come up on audio. If this sounds like shit on podcast, guys, you're just gonna have to indulge me. I have to do this because Larry's here. Ready?
Cobra. Oh. Yeah. Yeah.
Hell fucking yeah, dude. Okay, please tell me about that.
I created it from nothing.
You created the opening sequence of the G.I. Joe movie from nothing.
Yeah, Hasbro wanted an animated opening for the movie, and so they requested, the supervising director was Don Jurwich, and myself, Boyd Kirkland, Frank Parr, we were all directors at the time. And they said, okay, why don't you guys come up with something? And so I went to go draw something, and I thought about, at that time, it was like some sort of celebration of the Statue of Liberty was happening at that time.
That's right. It was being renovated totally. I donated a couple bucks for that as a kid.
So that was the key for me. Okay, I can key off of that because if the United States is going to celebrate something, Cobra might going to screw it up.
Yes.
And so I just started imagining Cobra coming to attack the Statue of Liberty, and I literally started. It's like a stream of consciousness. I started drawing stuff and just really sketchy spaghetti drawings in the beginning, just trying to get the pacing down. Mm-hmm. And it just started writing itself. I just started drawing stuff and putting people in and creating. I've always tried to, when I work on a show, I try and create visuals I haven't seen before. So I try not to duplicate myself. Okay. And so I tried to come up with different things. Like the first time you see the Cobra guy come down and the face fills the camera and goes back up. Yeah. And you see the side, you see all these different parachutes. And it was something I hadn't. So, okay, let me try that. Oh, that did work. Okay, let me keep going.
And the balloons. I love the balloons.
Yeah. And see, one of the things in production, sometimes you would draw a storyboard and you throw in the kitchen sink, and you might get back 50% of what you drew because for money purposes they don't do it. Uh-huh. In this one, because it had a theatrical budget, they did every damn thing I drew. Everything I had put in there, they put on the screen and was like, holy shit, look at that. They put I saw the pencil test coming back. I was just amazed. Wow. They did everything. A lot of what I did, it was all of those were my choices. I tried to put in every G.I. Joe that we had in the TV show into the opening.
And how do you, so you mentioned to me earlier, sorry to interrupt, but I want to ask you about this because it's really cool. You mentioned to me earlier that when you were creating that or the one that you had written, the one episode you had written, we had talked about Hearts and Cannons.
Right.
They gave you the figures. They let you like hold and play with the figures or whatnot, or showed you like this is who's going to be in it, or did they just give you a shit ton of G.I. Joe toys and said these are figures, put them in?
It's more the latter. Oh, but they not for the movie. They did give us. Yeah, I guess they did give us some, but not much. But it was mainly when we did the syndicated series, 65 episodes. Mm-hmm. They just gave us boxes of toys, and we just, some of them I never opened. They just put them in a box in my garage there. Then I had in the garage where you had the ladder. I put them in a box there. I haven't seen them in 30 years. They're just sitting up there somewhere.
I'm sorry. I'm going to need to get your address. Wow.
But because like when they. This is like pre-computer. I mean, they would give us these vehicles. And so we told them, if we're going to draw these vehicles in perspective, we need to have them to look at so we could draw the jets coming in 3/4 perspective. And so they sent us the toys. And so we'd have all the toys. And I think at one point, the G.I. Joe had these jets with the wings when they went forward instead of back. And so it's kind of hard to draw.
As watch me get nerdy, the Night Raven.
Yeah. And so we had to... so we basically got a lot of toys for free. Wow. His tanks and all the rest of that stuff.
Oh.
The life right there.
I know. Can you imagine here?
Oh, I mean, I'd be fine with it. You are over here just swooning about it.
I can't even believe that
life. I could see you with this box of toys just pulling a spy versus spy moment, just trying to get away with it.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be like, how can I get this out? How can I get this back home?
It just ends up blowing up after a
luckily, it's up in the roof, so because my wife... I'm the pack rat. She's not, and so because it's out of sight, out of mind, she hasn't said throw it away.
Do you have kids?
They're grown. They're out.
Did they understand the significance of what you were doing?
Sometimes it was like that's what Dad does. They just
do they now? I'm sure they do now.
They did once when they had I went to their school and I was like, bring your father to school, see what he does. So I brought in what I did on the X-Men and brought it in and showed them. I gave them all model sheets. I gave them copies of the characters and everything. And suddenly, the kid, my son was suddenly realized because the rest of the class were in awe of of what I did. Then they realized, I guess he does do something,
Yeah.
Wow.
I guess my dad does do something that everybody likes, and
they had bragging rights.
Yeah, at that point. But before they were just it's just Dad over there,
Imagine if I was in the class with your kids, and you come into the class, you start telling what you do, and I'd just be sitting there like, am I on camera? Am I being punked before punk comes out? I'd be like, and of course, I'm sure I probably would have talked if I was in school with your kids. I would have known. Some way, I would have found out. How old are your kids? I'm wondering if they're at all close to my age.
Let's see. I think they're 31 and 29.
Yeah, I didn't think you were nearly old enough to have a kid my age. So, oh wow.
What I was going to say, the G.I. Joe movie opening, the intro, and the first 15 minutes, I storyboarded the first 15 minutes of the show. So all the thing with Pythona and stuff getting in. I drew all that.
Really?
Yeah. And so up until the point where I think it's like a mass device type character thing. They're out in the Arctic.
Right.
So I drew all of that the first 15 minutes of the movie. Then after that, I think the other director, Frank Part, took over.
So who came up with the whole concept of the Cobra Law? I mean, this is. I'm sorry if this is too deep of a dig, you guys, on G.I. Joe, but.
No, I'm just sitting here.
I'm just in awe. I'm really intrigued by all the stories.
It's like it's hilarious. Well, you and I have had like in-depth conversations about the X-Men. He's just letting it all out now.
Well, you get a series that's essentially it's a sci-fi military-based series. I mean, comic book, toy, movie, tie-in, everything. It's all science fiction and military-based. It's not too unrealistic.
Right.
And then for the movie, you get this complete fantasy. Would that be the right word for the origins of Cobra through these ancient, immortal, snake-like people? I was kind of like, I mean, it's cool and all, but I was kind of like, where did they come up with that?
Yeah, that was an idea that got created through Hasbro, the toy company, and Buzz Dixon, who was the guy who actually wrote that episode, and he actually. from what I remember, he said that he gave him some. They gave him some ideas. He gave him some ideas on paper. Like here's a premise, here's another premise. He gave him like 3 or 4 premises of like what they could do in the movie, and they said, "Okay, do them." He said, "Which one?" He said, "All of them."
Oh,
and
yeah.
so that's
There's a lot of plots going on in that movie.
Yeah, and that's where all of that came from. They just told him just mix it together, and that's where it came from.
Wasn't that still like a 2-hour movie?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's long.
2 hours of animation. Woo.
Oh yeah.
That's some time working on it.
And
Yeah.
you know what? Not bad animation. Not cheap.
G.I. Joe wasn't my my cling to,
Yeah.
but I definitely did watch it. Trust me. And the Serpentor, whenever I saw that guy come out on screen, I was terrified.
Oh yeah.
Just like what is going on? Where's Cobra Commander? He's getting punked right now.
Okay, I'm gonna throw a little cool bit of science knowledge here at you. So I'm in biology class, early junior high maybe, and someone said, one of my teachers says, "Does anybody know what the building blocks of life are called?" And I shoot my hand up. I do. DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, and everyone in the classroom is all like, because I'm no science smart guy. Everyone's like, "How the fuck did you know that?" I'm like, "Arise, Serpentor, arise, motherfuckers!" Because I learned all about DNA and how they created Serpentor by taking the DNA from Earth's greatest warriors. And I understood DNA, and I was like, I learned it by watching a cartoon, and the comic book story, which was very, very similar, was also. So I've known DNA since way earlier than I should. Yes, Serpentor, this I command.
Yeah.
Good one, Larry. So, wait, a couple cool voices that were in that movie. First of all,
You mean in the G.I. Joe movie?
Yeah,
Sergeant Slaughter.
Yes.
Yeah. And the guy from
Rocky.
Clubber Lang.
No, Burgess Meredith.
Yeah.
Nikki was Nemesis. No, oh shit, what was his name?
Nemesis Enforcer.
No, that was a guy that didn't talk at all.
Oh, that's true. He just grinded a lot.
The big snake guy that half snake body. Oh, Snake guy had half a snake body. Cobra Laga. Anyway, you know who else was a really great voice in that? And at the time, I was a huge fan of his because Miami Vice was the hottest goddamn show on.
Yes.
Don Johnson was the voice of Lieutenant Falcon.
Right.
That was awesome.
That's right.
You know, I feel like, do you remember Chris Farley's interviews on Saturday Night Live, where he would interview people and just say how awesome it was? I kind of feel like that right now. Somebody else ask a question, please.
Okay.
Well, no, going into this is 25 years now since the release of X-Men, and I was talking to you, and is the plan still to have the panel at San Diego Comic-Con this year?
That's being worked on with the story editor, which is Eric and Julia Leewall. They're working to set it up. I got to wait for confirmation from them if it's going to happen or not. Right this year, what Eric has been doing, he's been interviewing all the participants of the X-Men series, and he's put together a book. And the book's called Previously on X-Men.
Yes.
Love it.
That is
I
perfect.
can hear that in my head.
Oh,
Totally.
man.
Yeah.
And
Previously on X-Men.
yeah,
Nice, man.
and
Thanks.
it's supposed to be out in September. So if it's going to come out in September, we may not have a panel, but we'll see. Like right now, I've been going to other conventions and talking, about the X-Men to people who anybody wants to listen to it.
Tell us about that.
What?
What conventions do you go to? What do you do? You sit at a booth and you sign autographs and talk to nerds like us?
Talk to fans of the show. I think the last one I went to was the San Diego Fest. It was in February, and we were down there showing some episodes, and it was myself, 2 of the writers.
Was that on one of the big screens that you showed it on?
Yeah, they had a big screen down there. Yeah,
that would have been amazing.
Yeah,
I would have absolutely lost it,
Dude, totally.
And so we were there, showing some of the films and answering questions and talking about specifics, anything specific about the episode that the kids wanted to know about. How did you do this? Why did you pick that? And that was a lot of fun, talking about the episodes, because some of the episodes I haven't seen in a while. So watching the big screens, oh yeah, I remember that. Oh, I remember fixing that. I remember I remember, a lot of little details about the shows once I see it again.
I thought one of the coolest things you told me about is when you said, hey, they drew me, into the animated series. And
What?
you were a character in there. Yeah.
Really?
Oh yeah, several times. If you in the first series, you'll see like there's a guy.
In the courtroom, right?
I think he's in a courtroom, and there's a big black guy, and he has the hammer. Order in the quarter, something like that. I drew myself back there.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
I want to go back and look at that now.
Yeah, I'm there somewhere. I'm a lot smaller than this back then. But yeah, throughout the series, I got a chance. Like, there's an episode where the art director, Frank Berner, had a daughter, Kisara. I think her name was Kisara. And then my son, Andrew, they were both, like 9 or 10 years old, whatever. And we needed 2 mutants in an episode. And so we drew his daughter and my son in an episode. There were like 2 mutants in the episode.
Lucky.
God, that is the
so
coolest thing ever.
cool.
So lucky.
Yeah.
And they had no idea. They were like, eh.
Not until they saw, so guess what? We showed them the model sheets and then they saw the final episode, months later.
Did they use powers, or were they just like people not?
Oh yeah, they were both mutants that got brought into the
school.
into the school.
What were their powers?
Let's see. One of them could grow crystals out of anywhere. They were like crystals would grow along the floor.
Oh, that's a cool one.
And another one could blow
cool.
stuff up, I think, or
Well, now
something
that's
like that.
cool. I want that power.
It was an episode where Cyclops left the team and he went to this town and he ran into the bad guys that were like Solar and the frog, the toad,
Yeah.
and some other characters. I can't remember the name of the episode, but that's the episode where we had a couple of cameos of our kids in the show.
Wow.
I'm telling you, Cyclops is mopey a lot.
Well, you and I have talked about
You
this
have to wear
before.
sunglasses
Dude,
all the time.
Yeah, think about it. You know what? See, here's the thing. I was thinking about this. You and I had this conversation. I was thinking about this. I was hoping I would have a chance to talk to you about this.
Okay, go.
You're always giving Cyclops shit because you think he's emotional or that he's mopey. Here's the thing. So you were in the military.
What?
This dude is the leader of a team of people who are all pretty, a lot of them are pretty young. And his leadership decisions are always life and death. That's some hard shit to have on your shoulders, on your chest all the time. It's not like he's a manager at Costco. His decisions can get people killed daily. I think that's a tough cross to bear, and you got to give Cyclops some slack.
I would have if he didn't kill Professor X.
Well, that didn't happen in our series.
Yeah, hey,
we didn't do that.
I have a line going. Everything he's done in that, whether it be the comic book or complaining somewhere along the lines. I don't know. I was always Team Wolverine.
I have a
I
question.
was Team Logan.
Oh, yes.
How do you feel about the movies now since the cartoons? Like, what do you think about them?
I like let's see. I remember the very first one that they did. The first X-Men movie. The first and second one are really cool. Mm-hmm. I wasn't thrilled with the one with Jean. And
no, it's shit. You can admit it, Larry. It's cool.
The Dark
Everyone
Phoenix.
hates it. Yeah. X-Men.
It didn't work at all.
Last Stand is crap.
Yeah.
Brett Ratner sucks.
And then the first X-Men First Class.
Oh, that was actually kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of
And
like that.
bringing Banshee in was a good idea.
Yeah. And then the last one, whatever they did the reboot.
Days of Future Past.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that one. I went, oh, okay. Now they can try and it's a restart. They can try and do it right. Get rid of that Jean Grey stuff and just restart it all over again. And not make the same mistakes twice. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And how do you feel about the Logan series?
I like Logan. That last one.
Yeah.
Wow, where he cuts loose. Yeah. I was like, whoa.
Did you ever see him going that way, in that direction?
The movie?
Yeah.
To be honest, I didn't see the ones before it because I had friends in the business. They gave me. They said, "Don't worry, don't go see it. It's not what you expect it to be."
Yeah.
You
So I didn't waste my money.
good?
I just went ahead and did it because it was Hugh Jackman. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Handsome man.
So I didn't waste my time with the earlier ones, but the last one.
The last one.
I really enjoyed.
It was like saying goodbye to him. It's sad.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah, but they did a good job with that last one.
I am happy that they are, and I don't know how everyone else, even the viewers or the listeners, not viewing anything yet, but we're starting to get away from the Wolverine and his amazing friends storyline.
Yeah.
because there's so many good standout stories and personalities in each of the mutants. And for as much crap as I give Cyclops, he's got a really, really big one that got him up into, his leadership role, especially, first time meeting Jean Grey. There's stuff they're doing that's good and stuff that they're doing that I think they shouldn't be doing. Apocalypse is one of my go-to favorite villains. Now he looks like a Stargate villain. He looks like a Stargate character. And I'm sorry that just shit will not fly. And they in X-Men Apocalypse, they took away one of the biggest rivalries in all of comics, at least in my opinion. And they took away the Archangel Apocalypse rivalry. And they gave him like very little screen time, and he just kind of got punked out of the way.
You can't. I told you last week, you can't fit that into one movie.
No, you can't, man. I hate it when they try to.
Yeah, that or you could, if that was the focal point of your entire movie, the age of or the Apocalypse turning Angel blue and cutting off his wings. What was that from X Factor? What was that series called? That was a specific series.
Called X Factor.
No, it was a like a graphic novel length. It was like a couple of books where in X Factor where Angel gets captured by Apocalypse, gets his he turns him into a 4-horseman.
I don't remember the what they volumized it at.
Yeah, but it was like
during that time frame. It didn't. It wasn't Follow the Mutants. That was a New Mutants thing.
But it was something like that.
But it was something. But I have the issue.
Extinction Agenda.
No, that came
way later,
about in the 90s. Yeah,
right, never mind.
But no, that's like the coolest rivalry ever. When Archangel's only, even in the show, that's all he ever wanted to do was kill Apocalypse.
Yeah,
I'm like, that's it. Oh, Archangel's in it because we're going to try to kill Apocalypse today.
Yeah.
Well, if somebody made your skin blue, wouldn't you? I mean, it's hard enough getting by in this world without having Smurf fucking skin. So,
well, they didn't. Apocalypse didn't even go near the pain that it was actually. Yeah. It was a very, very torturous effort to take his wings off and give him the metal ones. It wasn't as clean as they did it in Apocalypse.
No, it wasn't easy or clean. It was. Yeah, I told you last week. He changed his entire personality for the rest of the book's run.
Yep.
He's a different guy now.
Oh, he's the same even to this day. A little bit of trivia. Archangel's the one that rats Deadpool out.
Yeah, we know. He doesn't spend any of his money.
He doesn't spend any of his money.
Did you listen to our podcast this morning? You already told us this yesterday.
Yeah,
not everyone was in the same room.
We talked about that. I remember that one.
Yeah, I heard this conversation this morning when I was listening to my own podcast. It's quality control. I got to make sure it doesn't suck, right?
Well, then look at it this way: someone's going to jump in on our newest episode and go backwards. I'm going to go ahead and let them know.
I hope so. That means we actually have people listening. Hey,
you do. Cool. My little brother listens to you guys.
Wow. What's his name?
Brandon.
Hi, Brandon.
Big ups, Brandon.
Hi, Brandon.
Brandon, Larry Houston just said hi to you.
Don't ever clean out your ears.
Better get excited.
I don't think he's ever seen the X-Men cartoons.
Wrong answer.
I know. Well, he's 17, so
yeah,
it's
seriously that's like a rite of passage into adulthood.
I know. Well, it's not on Netflix anymore, so
there's ways.
And I wasn't a good big sister when it came out and said, "Watch this."
No, I wasn't a good big brother to my stepbrother Jester. He'd be watching Power Rangers, and I walk in the room and be like, "This shit sucks. Put on X-Men."
That was a little piece of trivia is that the same studio that did Power Rangers,
Saban, yeah,
Saban also, Well,
they got one thing right. Ooh, sick burn, Wade.
But I would be the few times I was in their studio, I'd walk by and there I could see them going over dailies on they get to get the actors in their rubber suits and they're doing their thing and stuff. But when you listen to the audio, because they knew the audio was going to be replaced, they were cursing. They were doing everything.
What?
They were saying, "Motherfucker!" They were doing
Shut up,
everything.
really?
Yeah, the actors were just having fun and just saying everything that you could never put on the air.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's funny.
I would have done it too.
It was hilarious. I'm watching it, and it's like.
So as they're fighting in their Power Ranger suits, which you can't even see their face.
No, the guys in the rubber monster suits.
Oh, sure. Like the Godzilla type.
Yeah. They're just saying the weirdest shit. And it was like an outtake reel that you could never air.
Oh my!
And I really tried to get a copy of one, but I never could get my hands on one. But
It's in the vault. It is in the vault.
It has to be.
If
That's
you could
hilarious.
put that on YouTube, that would go viral like crazy. Wow!
But it was funny as hell to watch it because I was looking over the shoulder of them going to the footage. I'm going, oh, it's blue language everywhere.
Wow!
But that's a little trivia I know from watching the shows being put together.
I heard Saban Entertainment is just notoriously cheap. Like, they pay their actors minimum wage. Could you even get your parking validated when you went there?
Oh yeah, actually, for me, yeah, because I was working on X-Men. He liked us.
Okay,
so
good.
That one went fine.
I heard they were really cheap, though. I wonder if that's true.
Well, I think they picked it up a notch since then. That was also the '90s when Saban just
Yeah, no, that's when I heard it was.
just started kicking it up, and a lot of people give the segueing into something else, but the Power Rangers, the actors who played them,
Yeah.
they didn't make anything on it.
No,
and people
yeah.
are just going back and giving them a hard time for going to conventions and utilizing that.
Yeah, they
fame.
made no
It's like
money,
they
the
made-
actors.
They came out of that just with enough money for gas.
Somebody I went to college with knew one of the Power Rangers. He was like, yeah, the dude drives an old Jetta. They don't pay him shit.
And
Whatever. Old Jettas are awesome. I
They
used to have one.
got paid scale. That's what it was. Yeah, they got paid scale. So,
Scale.
Yeah.
Which was not a lot, I guess, back
No,
then.
not back then. No. So that's
So
all we got.
I can understand why they would go ahead and do conventions.
Yeah, I mean, I wish somebody would pay me. Larry, I have one more quick question, a little bit of one more nerd deep dive to ask
Okay.
you.
It's no more than one.
I was somehow looking through your credits on IMDb. I saw that you may have worked with somebody, and I want to know if you ever got a chance to meet him, the voice actor, Frank Welker.
Oh yeah, I just saw Frank about a month ago over
Really?
in Thousand Oaks.
For Mish and Wade, you may not know, Frank Welker is one of the most prolific voice actors. If you went to his IMDb page, it looks like it's thousands of miles long.
Yes.
But why I care about Frank Welker is because he is the voice of Megatron.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yes.
how many voices of Megatron was there?
Honestly, well, other than the movie, the Transformers Michael Bay movies, it was done by Hugo Weaving, every Transformers series ever made from 1984 till now has always been Frank Welker. He's the Megatron.
I think we may have like a mutual friend in there because a girl I knew, I guess he is very close friends with her father.
Wow.
And I guess this guy also did Scooby-Doo, right?
He did everything.
Yep.
Everything.
Yep.
Yeah. And
So
the old
I-
Scooby-Doo, too.
yep.
Yeah.
Is he still working?
He's
Yes.
still
Yeah,
working.
he's still working.
What's
Yeah.
his latest thing?
I'm not sure, but just to let you know, he was Iceman on Spider-Man's Amazing Friends.
Oh, shit.
And he was also Ms. Lion, the dog.
Oh, see,
His
that
line.
little dog.
That little dog was him.
Yeah. Oh, really?
Yes, that
Oh,
was
man.
Frank Welker.
God, that guy is that's the most amazing. He's probably one of the, if not the most prolific voice actors.
Yeah.
He's
got so many voices. And
more
so-
characters than Mark
Yes.
Hamill.
Yeah.
And that's saying something.
Yeah.
Wow, cool. Well, Larry, from the bottom of my heart and from his heart and from
Maybe
her heart,
the lump of coal in my chest.
the love of coal that is your heart. We
I
want
don't
to
think
thank
I've
you.
stopped smiling the whole time we've been
No, I,
here.
I just been looking over and just watching it happen. I'm like,
I don't
Are you-
think it
are-
can get any bigger.
are you buffering right now?
I've been feeding off of her happy energy too. Like I can feel it coming off her, and it makes me feel it's so cool. So
I'm just happy that you guys were around to appreciate what the shows I worked on and things we did, because when we were working on the shows, we have no idea if the public likes what we're doing, if we reach the people. If for me, I've always wanted to try and inspire people the way I was inspired when I saw the cartoons and when I was growing up as a kid. So I've always tried to put that into my shows, trying to minimize the adult cynicism and just try and remember what it was to be a kid, and always put that into the shows.
Yeah.
Well, it worked.
oh yeah, no,
Well, I got to say this. It's
Yeah.
X-Men it's one of those that we've said it before, has stood the test of time.
totally.
Yeah.
The X-Men animated series, and that's why there's constantly they're re-releasing them on DVD or Blu-ray or on collections. And I think that's a fantastic idea, because it's one of those ones that you can get into and not lose your mind, because
True.
it's just good.
And here's another one that I'm going to have to throw out there, which we didn't really talk about on this podcast because it's not really our demographic. But I got to throw this out there.
Right.
I got a 3-year-old daughter. Guess who she absolutely loves, man?
Which character?
The Care Bears.
Oh God.
I liked the Care Bears when I was a kid.
Oh yeah, my wife did too.
Care
That's
Bears
why my
stare.
daughter does.
Yeah.
He produced 3 movies, right?
I did. I produced the CBS series on Saturday morning.
Yes, I have the DVDs. I should have brought them for you to sign. My daughter loves them.
Yeah.
She watches them now.
And I did 3 Care Bear movies.
Rad, right?
I loved the Care Bears.
Yes.
Yeah.
My daughter has like 20 Care Bear stuffed dolls. She loves them.
I'm glad she does. Yeah.
Well, yeah. So what your work has definitely just left an impact on multiple generations.
I tried to. Yeah, I wanted to get a shot at doing a show that wasn't about superheroes and stuff. So I got a shot to do the Care Bear. I said, "Yeah, I want to do that." So
That's
that's
so
what
awesome.
happened.
I also
Right.
got to say, I'm incredibly thankful for technology being what it is, and we have access to things on the net, on the web, to where we can find these things. And it's given older series another chance to be revitalized, and that's why you're seeing these retro. I say that loosely because it's not retro to me. Like I grew up on these, but someone who's who was born in 2000, or who was born in like 2008. Now they're finding these things out, and they're learning a whole other respect for, traditional animation, because everyone's so used to this CG world. I love it, but I mean, it's giving back the art, making it incredibly relevant again.
When the Netflix series, when it came back on the Netflix, I watched it and went to. It was like around Halloween, and I had decided that that's what I was going to dress up for Halloween.
Okay.
And I was going to dress up as the cartoon character. And I went around Santee Alley and shopping for like different things to like collaborate with my outfit. This is actually one of my jackets.
Yeah.
I've done it a
The
couple
road
times.
jacket.
Yeah. And I...
Fuck yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
That's the road jacket.
It's my road jacket.
For listeners, she's wearing this really cool short brown leather jacket. It looks just like Rose.
Yeah.
I can't believe I didn't put that together.
It's okay, guys. Little touches here, Easter eggs.
I was going to go for Squirrel Girl.
I decided I was going to strut my stuff. I was like, I finally got my costume the way it took about a couple years for me to like get it down to where I wanted it to be.
Right.
And I took it to the Hollywood parade in West Hollywood.
Yeah.
There were so many people dressed as Rogue and Gambit and like X-Men characters. And I kept getting people to stop and like wanting to take pictures with me because I looked just like her.
Yeah.
And, I didn't have a Gambit. I was just me. It was just me. I didn't have like a team of people.
Right.
I was the only X-Men character. I went with other people, but they were dressed as other things. And it was really cool to see so many fans, like people, random strangers. Oh my God, I love Rogue. I want to take pictures with you. It was really surreal to experience that.
Everybody likes that character, and I guess it's become iconic with certain generations. She's a really good character, and everybody loves her.
She's the best.
Yeah,
she's underrated in the movies.
You guys said something about Easter eggs. Someone did.
I did.
Oh, okay. Back then I called it cameos, but I'm the one who, whenever you saw an Easter egg in the show, it's something I made up. I put it in. It wasn't in the script. When you would see characters that you wouldn't expect, I put them all into the show. Because I remember, this is going back, but in the 60s, Marvel Comics didn't have good distribution. DC controlled it. And so what Stan would do, he would, in the middle of a Spider-Man book, you see Thor go by in a cameo. And then characters say, you see Stan would have a little box at the bottom that says, if you want to see what Thor went, buy Tales to Astonish or something like that. Yeah. He was cross-promoting his characters because he couldn't get distribution in all the titles he wanted to do.
That's awesome.
But as a kid, I didn't know what that was. I just knew, wow, look, it's a connected universe. Thor's in the same universe as Spider-Man. So when I did the X-Men series, I decided to put cameos of other Marvel characters into the series. I would put it in places where it didn't, if you didn't know who it was, it didn't matter because it didn't affect the story.
Yeah.
But if you were a Marvel person and you saw it, you knew, oh, there's Deadpool, there's this character, there's that
Oh my
character.
gosh,
Or
I
like
want to
a
go back and rewatch it
Or like
now.
a security guard would be watching a television show, and like the Hulk would come walking by on or something like that.
Yeah, I would put all those into the show. You know, I discovered early on, I tried to put, and we were on the same network, Spiderman, Batman, and X-Men. We're all on Fox. And I tried to put Spider-Man as a cameo in a show, and the network said, or someone said, no, can't do it. It's Spider-Man. But, you know, I'm going, but we're on the same network. You know, they said no.
It's the same
Yeah,
universe.
sounds a lot like what they're going through right now.
And
So-
I see what you're talking about, because even in the first episode, they're watching TV and Sabretooth is going,
Yeah.
you know, ballistic, and they just say, mutants going wild, the mutant threat, rah! You know?
Yeah. And so what happened later on was that we had, I think it was called Mutant Island or something, where they had mutants with the collars and stuff. That would blink at Genosha.
Yeah, Genosha.
And so the writers didn't know the mythology, so they just wrote Mutant 1, 2, 3, 4. So I told my staff, okay, make this one Blob, make this one Sunfire, make this one Mystique.
Oh.
I told them what to draw,
Sweet.
but I didn't change the names. So when it went into the system, they were Mutant 1, 2, 3, 4. Nobody gave me any shit. So
That's awesome.
so that's how I said, oh, now I know how to work the system.
Yeah.
Like,
So I just
I'll
kept
play
putting
your game.
We
So I
knew
just-
who they were, though.
Yeah, so I put characters in the show. I just called them generic names like
And we appreciated that.
Yes.
and like when Phoenix, the one thing I remember about Phoenix, when she turns on her powers and she leaves the Earth, there are cameos of characters that detect her powers. But I never called it, no, I think it's Doctor Strange, I think it's the Watcher, the Eternity. But I never called them by their real names. It was like Alien 1, Mutant 2, stuff like
Oh my
that.
gosh, I want to go back and watch
And
all of
so
them now.
it's peppered. I mean, you see, I did a couple of Deadpools in there somewhere. And they never had their real names.
Wow.
You know, I did Alpha Flight. Oh, Alpha Flight. That's the one little piece I remember. When that script was written, they only wanted to pay for so many voice actors. So Snowbird was not in the show. She wasn't written into the show. And I knew the kids would be asking the questions like, why didn't they draw this character in?
Mm-hmm.
So every time you see her into the shows, I drew her into the show. She has no dialogue because, you know, they only had so much money. But I put her into the show and I made her part of the action. And so that's why she has no speaking roles, but at least she's there. Kids.
Do you know who that is?
I'm trying to remember.
She's one of the Alpha Flight
Turns
characters.
into a big white owl.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, she wasn't in the show. So I just made her up and I just added her to the story.
Cool.
You know, little things like that where I tried to remember what what it would be for me if I was a kid watching the show, what I want to see. And I just, I didn't ask permission. I want to do it.
Sometimes it's better.
Yeah.
Better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Yeah.
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 And I think that made it a hit.
Yeah,
Definitely.
that's I found it out with Spider-Man. So
I think it also helped that you were a fan.
yeah.
Oh, for sure. Thank God you were. Thank God you were a
Oh, I
fan.
hate it when people who don't have any idea work on a project like that.
I was able
man.
to, the writers didn't know the character, so if they wrote something the character didn't do, I just take my pen and just scratch it out, and then I tell the artist, okay, have Storm do. I write in what the character could do, and just hand it off to the storyboard artist, and they would take the boards, do the boards, bring it back. I'd have to edit the entire show and then put all the pieces together, made sure everybody did what they're supposed to do.
And then Nightcrawler shot red beams from out of his eyes. No, man. No, you got it all wrong.
Could you
Turn his head
imagine?
into stale.
Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun putting all the cameos in, the Easter eggs, and correcting, course correcting small things to pull the show back to being what it should be. And, and all my people working for me, let's see if I can remember, Frank Bruner and Mark Lewis and Frank Scolacci, we were all fans. And
Nice.
so it was nice to have the crew.
Wow, very cool.
That's so awesome.
Well, Larry, I think we're going to have to wrap up. I think we've now done our... Last week we thought it was our longest show. I think this one is...
This one is the longest.
Yeah, but this should be.
It was for good reason.
Yeah, it's for damn good reason.
And I'm going to go ahead and do a shameless plug right now.
Go for it.
Because if anyone listening, you're going to be listening to this on Saturday. Understand that May 6th is Free Comic Book Day. So wherever you're listening from, go ahead and Find the nearest comic store. Go over there where they can probably have sales, artist signings, all kinds of cool stuff with free comics. I mean, you can't beat that.
What's wrong with that?
If you're in Simi Valley, Larry's actually going to be doing like a meet and greet, and he's going to be signing some stuff. He's going to come on up to this
At your store?
At the store, yeah.
May 6th?
May 6th. Definitely. So we're going to have
Are we
a
there or
couple
what?
other good artists up there.
You want to go? I want to go.
It's
I'm
fun.
down.
Misha, you'll see Misha and I. That'll be awesome.
Free comic book days is an event.
I
now.
might
It's
visit a
event.
couple of comic book stores.
that we do have people who do that.
Why not?
Yeah.
Come bright and early. Doors open at 10 in the morning.
I'll be there at 8.
Well, we want to thank you all for joining us. Please feel free to send us your show topic ideas. You can email me to actionfiguredunkie@yahoo.com, and we might use one of your show ideas as long as they don't suck shit. You can find Wade at DHWerta1984 on Twitter. You can also find me on Instagram at actionfiguredunkie, where I show you pictures of my action figures. And no plastic dicks, Wade. So I want Mish to be able to promote hers, and I would like Larry to have a chance to promote whatever he wants to as well. Go for it, dudes.
You can follow me on Instagram at Mish, MESHELLH1. And also follow us on Facebook, because we had this live for a little bit. I don't know if it's still going. And you can see what we all look like.
That's cool.
What about you, Larry? What would you like to promote?
What I'm promoting, I'm currently working on reviving one of my comic book ideas back in the early 80s. Charlton Comics published one of my superhero ideas. It was called The Vanguards, and it was like 3 freedom fighter women who were like taking back their country from a crazy despot. That sounds familiar, I know it, but
Wow, very timely.
That's cool.
Nice.
Redo it for today, and working on making some children's books for younger kids.
That's awesome.
So those are the 2 things I'm working on right now.
Excellent,
Love it.
sir. Thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate you coming by and giving us some really great stories on what you've been and where you've done it.
Because it's affected all of us.
Totally, yes. Yeah, you've made us who we are.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for liking the show. I really appreciate your words and compliments and stuff.
Welcome.
It's really nice.
Normally I do a movie quote at the end of the show and see if anybody can guess what it's from. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do my Rogue impression. Are you ready?
Yeah, I want to hear this.
Okay, sugar. That was it.
In your own words, that sucks shit.
My Gambit's even worse.
Oh, I want to hear Gambit.
Well, okay, Sherry.
Aww. It was good.
How about my Wolverine?
I don't know, bub.
You need
Gambit was the best.
Thank you. The least terrible. All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
This has been an Infamous Works production. Copyright Infamous Works 2017. All rights reserved. We claim no rights to the music used in the show. We are just fans of it. Find us at www.infamousworks.com.
Nerdy. Look at me,